Hi folks, with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio radio live stream. Excuse me. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the number of activist teachers and deans, headmasters, headmistresses, senior teachers, executive officer teachers, all this sort of stuff that are permeating Western schools. And we're talking about children's ages between 8 years old and right through to senior high school, and of course into college. But particularly, I want to concentrate on primary schools and immediate pre-teen and teen level education. Now, there's quite a few videos doing the rounds and have been for a few years now about how these brazenly activist teachers are being employed in government schools, and where teachers unions sort of control everything, and where everybody's trans and lesbian parents and all this sort of stuff. And they also believe, these activist educators, call them what you like, that they have the right to indoctrinate children in LGBT, race, gender, hustling, 1619 project, trans issues, and to really push it hard on the kids. Now, they would argue, no, we're not propaganda. We're just letting them know this is an option in their lives, and then they're free to make that choice. Now, I would sort of respond, okay, they're free to make the choice when they're 18. And when they're 18, then sure, then they can make those choices. But it's not up for an activist, a rabid, pronounced, well-known, paid-up activist, to be pushing these issues in the schools. That would be my sort of position. If that person wants to be an activist in their own time and their own money, or they want to have a trans class after school where kids can attend voluntarily with their parents' written permission, that's okay too. Or maybe in high school, certainly not in primary school. But anyway, there's a whole range of issues here in the government schools. Now let's go to the private schools, where a lot of parents are paying 30, 40, 50, more than $50,000 a year for their children to get a junior high school education. And now, if you look at that, then you sort of say to yourself, well, hey, hold on a minute. If it's in a private school where big fees are being paid, how come these rabid activist teachers are getting hired in a private school? So now, this is not something that's falling between the cracks. These there are whole bodies of NGO activists that are supplying these teachers into the schools. It's like a fucking production line where these rabid activists are just going down the conveyor belt and then being plucked off and given in some cases very well paid jobs in these private schools. When the students are paying $50,000 a year plus, or the parents rather are paying $50,000 a year plus to go to send their kids to get a supposedly quality education, then how can it be that low IQ and minimally qualified rabid activists are getting hired as teachers? Can that fall between the cracks? I wouldn't think so. Now, so we're looking at a situation where, in this case, a Black Hispanic woman is transing to be a man, body piercing, nose rings, tattoos, brazen gay type behavior, the lisp, the whole thing. And somehow they're hired. Now bear in mind, they've got an affirmative action minimum basic entry level teaching qualification, no teaching experience, and they have been doing the rounds of NGO activism, supposedly holding classes to promote LGBTQ trans type issues. And so you wouldn't even, I mean, they would even qualify as a teacher's assistant in my view. That's absolute minimum, and yet they're hired as the dean of an expensive private school. Now, how could that even happen? Now, just to make it even more interesting, about a quarter of the funding of this school, a quarter of the funding comes from a religious group, a Christian religious group. So let's just consider this: a very expensive private school. Parents are obviously sending their parents aren't poor, of course. If you can afford $50,000 a year per child, cash that you've got to pay, and that's before you pay extras, like say they do an excursion, something like that. So $50,000 is kind of the low end of the scale here. It's probably going to be quite a bit more by the time you throw it all in. So, but let's run with 50,000 a year. 50,000 a year for, so you've got two, so you're coughing $100,000 a year. Now that means you need to be on a salary of $200,000 a year just to be able to pay the school fees. That's before you put food on the table or paid the mortgage or got your car running or paid for the vacation. So we're looking at parents that would have to be on $400,000 a year household income at least to be able to even play in that league. And so there you go. And you're looking at that and going, wow, this is crazy here. Parents that are on that sort of income. Now, maybe they're directors of diversity inclusion at the local university, possibly got to come from that. But let's assume not for the moment. And somehow the school is hiring a rabid activist of the lowest educational quality. The person's clearly low IQ, seriously low rent, and somehow that's the dean of this expensive high school. That dean in turn is approving behind the scenes. The parents aren't being told, approving the most radical transgender and LGBTQ and race hustling type activism in the high school. Now, there are parents' councils and parents' committees, teachers' committees, and somehow none of the teachers, this is again a private school, it's not a government school, a private school, somehow the teachers' committees aren't saying anything, it's just not getting out, the parents aren't saying anything, maybe they don't know, some of them must know and must be approving of it. I mean, if you sit down and talk, it's not something you can hide. If you sit down for like 5 seconds and talk to this dean of the school, something's gone terribly wrong. When you're sitting in front of the dean of an expensive fucking high school, and the dean has got nose piercing, tattoos, is trans, and talks like they've got an IQ of 80, something's wrong. You don't need to go any further. Just that alone would raise every red flag and every alarm bell imaginable. But somehow it's allowed to, that person's been there for nearly a year. As far as I'm aware, there's no attempt or effort to get rid of them or query the processes that led to them being hired, which clearly must be corrupt or subverted. There's obviously no merit in this hiring decision. Now, on top of that, this dean is then hiring teachers from the same NGO activist crowd that they came from. So there's a multiplier effect almost instantly as soon as you bring in one of these activists. Now, somehow, again, no one's saying anything. Now, one of the parents did get concerned and kind of got a private detective or a private detective agency to do some work here and try and find out more information. But that's one example. Now, there's no shortage of these examples in the expensive private high schools. Now, this means that either the majority of these parents are woke activists and they approve of this. If so, why don't they declare it? I mean, why are they trying to do it through subterfuge? And if they are doing it through subterfuge, they know it's wrong, why are they then claiming to hold the moral high ground? So there seem to be two issues here. One is that the LGBTQ trans type crowd is saying, well, really, there's a fuckload of kids that want to be gay, that want to be lesbian, that want to be trans, and at the same time they're all Nazis and they're trying to stop us. Because I'd like to know how those two thoughts can coexist, but this is it. And I'm just surprised how widespread it is. Now, if make it clear and on the curriculum. This is a lesson to encourage kids to become trans, or to make it sound cool, or to make it sound desirable or favourable in some way, and get the parents' permission. Now, at the same time as they're doing the subterfuge in background, pushing this hysterical Marxist gay lesbian propaganda, they're saying it's got nothing to do with the parents. The parents shouldn't be involved. The parents shouldn't be allowed. Well, then it's okay to have a class where they worship Hitler and do Nazi salutes. No, that's not allowed. No, we can't allow that. That's no. The freedom only extends as far as becoming LGBT. It doesn't extend anywhere. Or why not? What if a kid did the Nazi salute? Well, we tell the parents straight away. Well, we'd be on national television. Well, then why shouldn't it be if it's LGBT? Why shouldn't that be on national television? No. We are the moral saviors of the universe. Everyone else is a Nazi. It's the other guys who are the Nazis. We're the good guys. Everyone else is fucking Hitler. So on it goes. But again, it's not an accident how many of these people have been hired, these activists. They're not just getting hired. The school, someone in the school, groups within the school, groups that control these schools, and multiple schools, not just one or two, are intentionally going out to hire these rabid activists. So this activism is pushed in schools, and they try and keep it from the parents that may not necessarily agree or not like it. Now, if you look at the charters of these schools, openness and honesty and this, that, and the next thing, and yet they willfully and maliciously, in my view, with great malevolence, I think, keep these issues concealed from parents, openly asking the children or beseeching the children, don't tell your parents. And goodness me, I mean, if that's not sinister, I don't know what is. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.